på et tidspunkt.
The Danish people and the Danish government then really only have themselves to blame because of the repercussions. I'm here telling you, that you need to take more responsibility.
Sådan lyder det fra det nærmeste al-Qaida kommer på en talsmand i Europa. Ham vender vi tilbage til lige om lidt. Velkommen til Horisont. Politiets efterretningstjeneste gjorde det i den forløbende uge klart. De mener, at der er forbindelser mellem Danmark og al-Qaida. Det samme siger man i Tyskland. De er her, og de planlægger at sprænge bomber og forårsage død og ødelæggelse, ligesom de har gjort andre steder i verden. Hvis vi var i tvivl før, så burde vi, igen ifølge politi og efterretningstjeneste, ikke være det længere. Al-Qaida opererer i Danmark. Al-Qaida er i vores del af verden om noget synonym med terrorisme. Terrornetværket, der for alvor placerede sig på verdenskortet med aktionerne i New York og Washington den 11. september år 2001, er frygtet i vores del af verden, men elsket og beundret, i hvert fald af nogen, i den muslimske verden. Men udover ødelæggelser og trusler og meddelelser fra lederen Osama bin Laden og andre al-Qaida-folk, oftest i form af videobeskeder, så kan det være vanskeligt at forstå, hvad det i virkeligheden er, al-Qaida vil opnå, ud over at slå ihjel. I Horisont i aften skal vi møde en mand, der støtter al-Qaida og som fortæller åbent om bevægelsens vision. For eksempel, at vi danskere med tiden skal leve i et land domineret af islam og sharia-lovgivning. Men inden min snak med ham, hvad ved vi så om tankerne bag terrororganisationen al-Qaida?
Al-Qaida under emir Osama bin Laden ser sig selv som redskab for Guds vilje. En organisation og en mand, der har taget på sig at forme denne verden til det, der altid har været Guds hensigt, at skabe et fromt og ideelt samfund på jorden, en harmonisk verden styret af en retfærdig kalif, et islams svar på de kristnes pave, bare med langt mere vidtgående beføjelser. For at nå det mål er alle midler, ifølge al-Qaidas chefideolog, legale.
يجب أن يدفع اليهود والصليبيون في كل مكان ثمن قتل إخواننا المسلمين في لبنان وفلسطين وفي سائر ديار الإسلام. يجب أن يكون قتالنا جهادا في سبيل الله.
Al-Qaida ved imidlertid, at det ikke kommer til at ske fra den ene dag til den næste, så der eksisterer en plan i flere faser. Udgangspunktet, og der hvor kampen især står dags dato, er at befri alle nuværende muslimske lande, her med rødt. Det vil sige, at hele striben af korrupte, ugudelige og uduelige konger, præsidenter og diktatorer skal væk og erstattes af den retfærdige kalif. Al-Qaidas kandidat til den post kunne meget vel tænkes at hedde Osama bin Laden. Kalifatet slutter ikke med de nuværende muslimske lande. Fase 2 er, at alle lande, der på et eller andet tidspunkt i historien har været besatte muslimske styrker, skal vende tilbage til den rette tro. Dermed skal blandt andet Spanien og Portugal og hele Balkan under Al-Qaidas kalif. Al-Qaida lever op til definitionen på en rendyrket terrororganisation i den forstand, at den ikke sondrer mellem soldater og civile. De fleste muslimske teologer vil fastholde, at Koranen forbyder den slags, ikke Al-Qaida. Nu er hverken Osama bin Laden eller Ayman Zawahiri teologer med bemyndigelse til at udstede religiøse kendelser, men det holder dem ikke tilbage. I februar 1998 udskrev de en fatwa, en officiel krigserklæring, der har forandret forholdet mellem islam og Vesten for altid.
Beslutningen om at dræbe amerikanerne og deres allierede, civile såvel som militære, er en personlig pligt for enhver muslim, der er i stand til det, i et hvilket som helst land, hvor det er muligt at gøre det. Dette er i overensstemmelse med den almægtige Allahs ord.
Tidligere talte jeg med en mand, der er al-Qaida-sympatisør. Han er måske det tætteste, man kommer på en egentlig talsmand i Europa. Anjem Chowdhury er af pakistansk baggrund, bor i London og er uddannet advokat. Han har dannet 2 muslimske organisationer, der begge er blevet forbudt i Storbritannien på grund af anklager om terrorvirksomhed. Og han har opfordret muslimer til ikke at samarbejde med politiet. Jeg spurgte Anjem Chowdhury, om i lyset af, at hele verden næppe er ved at konvertere til islam, hvad er det så, der er al-Qaidas umiddelbare mål?
Well, Al-Qaida are an Islamic movement, and therefore their ideology and their ideas are based upon the divine text that is contained in the Quran and the teachings of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So certainly their objective will be as set out by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, the domination of Islam worldwide. That domination will come, we have been promised, by the establishment of an Islamic state, which will have a foreign policy of removing all obstacles in the way of global domination. So as Muslims, we do believe that one day the whole world will be dominated by Islam, including Denmark and Britain and even the United States of America.
The whole discussion, of course, is about what are the means you use for that. And to be quite frank, I think most people can't understand that you should kill innocent people in order to obtain that goal.
Well, you know, if you look in the life of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was surrounded by non-Islamic law and order, then certainly at that time he was creating public awareness and public opinion in favor of Islam. And the first Islamic state, which was established in Medina, did not involve the kind of killing and the kind of massacres that we see around the world today. However, we are living in a period now where Muslim land is under occupation, where innocent Muslims are being killed in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Our land is occupied in Palestine. In fact, we've been divided into over 55 countries. And much of that division and that bloodshed has been supported by many of the Western countries, including Denmark.
But
so, you know, we're living in a different reality. At the moment, Muslims are trying to liberate their land from foreign occupation.
But
so, is it okay?
But is it okay in your terms, or in your view, to use terrorism in order to obtain that goal?
Well, you see, that depends upon your definition of terrorism. If you mean liberating your land from foreign occupation, if you mean fighting against those people who will violate your honor and kill innocent people, then, you know, there's a terrorism which is sanctified by the divine text. If you're talking about carpet bombing individuals in Tora Bora, if you're talking about the terrorism of the British and the American forces in Iraq, in Afghanistan, then certainly that is not sanctioned by the divine text.
But it's terrorism that involves the killing of innocent people. Do you think that is okay in Copenhagen, in London, or wherever it may happen?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think the killing of innocent people in Baghdad, in Tora Bora, in Palestine is justified? Do you think it's right that, people should have been carpet bombed in Afghanistan? Why is it that the Muslim blood can run like water, but when it comes to Danish blood, or when it comes to English or American blood, then this is sanctified and any operation is not justifiable?
But
you must remember that in the Second World War, when Britain was attacked by Germany, the British government at that time didn't send a box of chocolates or a bunch of flowers, they bombed them in return. And you know, Madeleine Albright, she said not so long ago that that was collateral damage when innocent Muslims were killed in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Why is it that you don't use the same terminology when people retaliate against you for the atrocities which your governments have committed against Muslims?
But you didn't answer my question. You asked me one, and I am in the lucky situation where I asked the question today. But do you think it is okay to kill civilians in Copenhagen, for instance, in order to obtain the goals that you mentioned before?
No, I don't think that any Muslim will see the killing of any innocent people as justifiable. But as you know, in war, people kill each other. And obviously, you have to put yourself in a position of Muslims in Iraq and Afghanistan. If your government, for example, is sending troops to Iraq and Afghanistan, if you're supporting the Americans and the British in the atrocities which the whole world sees, I mean, we're not living in, in a cocoon where we can't see what's going on. We have satellite television now, we have Al Jazeera, we have many other TV channels where we can see the bloodshed and the torture with our own eyes. What type of response do you think the Muslims in those countries will give you? Do you think they will say, that's no problem at all, come and kill us, come and occupy our land, or do you think they will retaliate? And when they do retaliate, for example, on the London Underground, or in Spain or other countries, then really,
or in Copenhagen.
I think we need to have, or indeed in Copenhagen, I think we need to have a more panoramic view. We cannot pretend that history started on 7/7 or 9/11. History started before that. We were having occupying forces in our land in Palestine, and our countries, Sudan, Afghanistan, were bombed in 1998. The British and many of the European countries conspired with the Americans in order to occupy our land and steal our resources. So I think we need to talk about the history of the current conflict.
But in terms of, for instance, if you look at Denmark, do you think there will be any understanding in Denmark of the problems that you're mentioning here, of the problems that the Muslims face around the world, or in Denmark itself, if acts of terror are committed within our society?
Well, there you go again, using words like terrorism and extremism. These are words which are, paraded around by the Western media, and as we all know, they're used as pejorative, as emotional terms only for the Muslims. What about the terrorism of the Western regimes?